Hello sword friends, thanks for tuning in. Let's do another sword review. This one is by Lyuesword from China. It's another reproduction katana, which I call Tonbokiri, or Dragonfly Cutter. That's not the real name of the sword, but it's adorned with beautiful dragonflies. So if you have a couple minutes, let's take a look at this really nice sword for about a $300 price point. It has some really nice features on it. Let's take a look. Alright, I'm down here on the floor. I'm too old for this, right? So we're down here on the floor, a little bit different view to look at this sword. Let's start right here at the butt cap. It's called Kashida. Can you see that? Look at that dragonfly flying through the air. That's a nice motif, and this sword features this dragonfly, which is a tonbo. So that's why I call it tombogiri, like cutting the dragonfly. Isn't that cool? Now this sword is really heavy. It's heavier than many that I have. So if you want like a light cutter for, a new person that's new to cutting or even swordsmanship, this is not for you. This is a heavy sword, and this weighs a total of 3.7 pounds. That's quite hefty. So there are other swords that are much lighter. So if you're interested in doing swordsmanship and you're a new person or you're a smaller person, just getting started, your muscles aren't built, don't get something this heavy. So check for the weight of the sword. That does make a difference. So you have this, I'm thinking it's just an aluminum metal on here with this raised and painted dragonfly. There's very little edge between the butt cap and the wrapping here. Sometimes I look for the ridge here to see if it sticks out. If the metal sticks over, it can really affect your hands over time. So there's a little bit of a ridge here, ever so slightly, and on the top there's none. It's quite flat. Just a little bit of a catch here for your hands when they come to the butt cap, but nothing major to write home about. As you can see, the tsukaito, the wrapping, is brown, which in itself is fairly unusual. In the old days, all we could really get was the black wrapping with the white samigawa underneath, but I like how nowadays they're coming out with some browns and greens and things like that. And the diamonds here are fairly uniformed. As you can see, these diamonds, they're not great, but they're not terrible either. So you see how the diamonds are different? A higher end sword, they will really concentrate on making these almost perfectly the same, but it's not bad for this price point. Now, one of the things I look for on a sword of any quality is how tight is this wrapping here? Is the wrapping really loose? Because if it is, it comes apart and it makes the swordsmanship much more difficult. It fatigues your hands because you're always gripping and moving. This wrapping is okay. It's tighter than many I have, but I can still move the wrapping a little bit here with my finger, but it's not terrible. But it's not the tightest sword I have, so I would give this like a B+ in the wrapping. The samigawa under here, this is ray skin, that white dimpled area there. It's real. I think it's just paneled. I don't think it's fully wrapped. At this price point, it wouldn't be. And as you can see, there's a peg there and a peg here, so it's double pegged. A lot of these swords are single peg, but I like the double peg because that means the tang comes down, which makes it better balanced and weighted better. So if you're looking for security, you have two pegs here which you would take out if you wanted to disassemble this sword, and it can be disassembled for cleaning or whatever you want to do. The Minuki here, as you can see, is another dragonfly, and there's one on each side. There's one here, so you can make out this little dragonfly. I don't know what that metal is made of. It might be brass, it probably is. But I like how the dragonfly's carrying over from this, and then it goes to here, and then it goes to here. I like that. The wrapping is flat, meaning there's no hitagami paper underneath to bulge these out at all. It's just, flat, but that's okay. The handle shape is comfortable in the hands. The Fuchi collar features another dragonfly, as you can see. And there's one dragonfly on the omote side, and on the ura side, there's another. So you have two little dragonflies here, one on each side. Isn't that cool? Kind of flying toward the Tsuba guard. And again, the metal material for these is probably brass, I'm guessing. I don't think it's copper, or it could be some sort of alloy. The stamping and the quality of these stamps is pretty good. These are raised dragonflies and painted, so it's not stamped, it's actually like in there, which is nice. Moving down to the Suba Guard, and again we have more dragonflies. There's one flying there, and there's one flying there. It's a kakugata square-shaped guard, and it looks like it's made of iron. Iron's a standard metal that they use here. It's strong, it'll hold, unless you bash it against trees or something. But it's a standard Suba guard. You know, nothing great. I have some Suba guards that are $1,000 and they're handmade, and I have one that cost, gosh, $1,600 just for the little guard, but it's all handcrafted and it's about 300 years old. These are just kind of, I don't want to say mass-produced, but they're, you know, nothing to write home about, but it's cool. Some of the swords I have at this price point are really boring, so at least this has a good paint job on it, and you can make out the detail. It's not muddy. A lot of the casts that they make these swords with are very muddy, and this one looks pretty clean. So again, if you like outdoors or swamps or forests and you love dragonflies, this sword might be for you. And these seppa spacers here, there's one on each side. As you can see, there's one here, one there. Those are just kind of the standard gold decorative color. All right, moving down, let's open the blade up. So I want to be careful because, again, this is a Shinken, very live sword, very sharp. And you notice how I'm pushing the saya up. I push the saya up so that the blade doesn't cut open this beautiful work here. If you do this a lot and you drag it, the blade over time will actually cut through this. So you notice I'm lifting it so that there's a small space up here. So let me carefully remove the scabbard, and we'll put that aside for a moment. The habaki, I'm guessing, is brass, and it's just your typical gold habaki. It's not terrible, it's not great. It's got a little bit of scuffing on it from the scabbard already, so that might be an issue later on. And the seppa spacer here is also probably brass itself. Okay, the blade itself is made of T10 steel, which is a great quality steel. They say that this blade was forged and clay tempered both. So you can see the hamon line here, so you know it was clay tempered. It was water quenched, what they told me, and it's finished to have a Rockwell hardness of about 58. So that's really pretty good. Of course, it's softer here, it's harder on the edge there. The blade on this particular sword is 28 inches long, and there is no bohi fuller. As you can see, it's just a solid one-piece construction, and again, it's quite heavy. As you can see, the hamon line, it's pretty pronounced. It's called midareba, which means irregular shaped, and it's quite visibly seen when we have some nice light on it. The blade itself is not folded steel, it's one piece, so there's really no hada grain to really talk about. It's really just kind of a clean looking blade. It has a nice shinogi ridge line here, which goes all the way up to this pronounced yokote line here. And this kasaki at the end is considered a chu kasaki, a mid-sized kasaki, and you can see the nice geometric lines there. This blade is absolutely razor sharp, definitely would cut through many soft and hard targets. Now I have tons of swords in my collection, and I have not done tameshigiri with this, so I can't give any advice on how it cuts. I can tell it's sharp, but until I actually cut some targets with it, I'm just going to leave that as a not applicable in my opinion, because I haven't cut with this yet, to be honest. Looking at the saya, it has a really nice saya. This is a buffalo horn here around the koiguchi, and it is made and tailored to be tight on that blade. So the koiguchi here, and the kurigata chestnut here, and also at the end on the kojiri, the end butt cap, are all that buffalo horn, which to me is a nice detail. It's just a higher quality, it's beautifully put on here, and it makes these a bit more decorative and a bit stronger. You don't often see a scabbard with this. This is a nice feature. It has a partial samegawa wrap here, which is made into the scabbard itself, and it's lacquered over many times, but you can see that that really makes this part very unique to your just plain black lacquered scabbard. I really love this decoration here. It's just a really nice feature, especially on the omote side, that shows to people the sageo is nothing to write home about. It's just your typical black cotton. And I'm going to leave this one in this presentation tie. I'm not going to untie this because I'm not going to cut with this sword. When I do cut with it, I will remove the sageo, this beautiful wrapping here, and I'll use it for my obi belt and stuff like that, because you want to have the sageo free when you're cutting. So I'll start here and just give a quick view of the whole scabbard all the way to the end. It's quite attractive. So what do you all think of this sword? I think it's a beautiful motif with the dragonflies and the brown colors and the extra ray skin here. I think it's a quite beautiful sword for the price that it is. I think it's a heavy sword again. It's very sharp. It'll get the job done. I don't think this is a good sword for beginners because of its weight. Swinging it around, it is a bit top heavy. It's not wonderfully balanced like some of the ninja toy that I've showed you before. It's a one-piece blade. It's got good quality T10 steel, 58 hardness, so it's going to hold up. I can't fully recommend it until I cut with it, but as far as looks, aesthetics, and my experience, this is a good put-together sword. The specs are tight. It holds very well. Doesn't rattle in the saya. For the price point of under $300, I'd give this sword a B+, A- without a doubt. But until you've seen swords that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, they just can't compare to these replicas here. But again, you have to start small, you have to start somewhere, and this is a nice addition as far as a higher end budget sword that I've seen. Let's take one more look at this Tombogiri Dragonfly Cutter Katana. Boy, I just love looking at swords, don't you guys? For a $300 sword, I think this has some nice features to it. It has some improvements that could be made, but hey, once you have two swords, you're starting your own collection. So good luck on your collection, and if you pick this up, you can find it on their website or all over the internet. Just kind of type in Lyueswords and see what comes up, and then you can kind of shop around. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We love having you being part of our dojo family. Even if you can't train here, you're watching from somewhere around the world. We so appreciate you taking the time to share with us. Have a great day or night wherever you live, and great training to you. Bye-bye.